What's going on, everyone? So the NBA draft is vastly approaching. I mean, literally, it's right around the corner. And there's a lot of questions about the number 2 pick. We've seen several teams that have been linked to trying to trade for the number 2 pick. Spurs don't really seem interested in trading the number 2 pick. The full expectation is that they are going to draft Dylan Harper, but you've seen Houston make plays. You've seen the Washington Wizards have really tried to make plays in acquiring the number 2 pick. They supposedly, even some surprising names was what the report said as far as players that they might be willing to give up. You think of like a Bilal and a Sar, plus the number 6 pick, and something maybe would that be enough to get it right? But regardless, you kind of look at what these teams would be willing to give up, and it's like, what would it cost? What would it take? Well, we got a report that the Spurs, they want to keep the pick. They plan to keep the pick. The plan is to draft Dylan Harper. However, just like any too good of a deal is too good of a deal, right? And according to reports, and this is per Yahoo, Kevin O'Connor from Yahoo Sports, says that reports that the Spurs are listening to offers, but it won't be easy for another team to pry the pick away. They want a ridiculous haul. A front office executive told O'Connor, far more than I'd expect anyone to give up. And this is from, my guess is one of the executives that tried to trade for the number 2 pick and was like, hey, what do you want? And the Spurs probably were like, we want everything in the kitchen sink. All right. So again, going to reports, one of those things where the Spurs are at least listening. We've gotten that from multiple reports, multiple sources. We know that they've at least had conversations about it. But again, conversations and talks and listening is not the same thing as actually willingness to do so. If a team wants to come in and offer you, 10 future firsts and, 3 young players, it's just like, if they're willing to give you a Giannis level package for a guy that, yes, he might end up being a star, but who knows, right? It's still a risk, still a gamble. And look, you look at the Spurs and it's like, dude, where does Harper fit in right now? At some point, you're probably going to have to trade a De'Aaron Fox or a Stephon Castle, potentially. Maybe not. We'll see. But I'm saying, if he actually becomes who you want him to become, then he's probably going to be your point or 2 guard. So, what do you do at that point? And he might be the guy you want to have the ball in his hands, not De'Aaron Fox and stuff. So, again, there's a lot that they're going to have to figure out. It's not as just straightforward. Plus, there's always the potential that he just doesn't hit. Right? I mean, every year there's guys that people believe are going to be stars and think that they have the it factor. And there have been a lot of guys that just never amount or became anything, right? There's guys that, or had good seasons or 2. Look at Michael Carter-Williams, averaged nearly a triple-double his rookie year. And everyone swore he was going to be the next great point guard. And he was out of the league by the time his next contract ended up, right? Tyreek Evans averaged 25-5 his rookie season. And he was out of the league, right? Again, you never know what guys are going to be. There's guys that have excellent rookie seasons and then just are never able to replicate it, just kind of fizzle out. There's guys that, come out all hype and excited, and then things happen. You never know. I mean, look at Zion coming out. Zion was looked at as the greatest prospect ever. Now teams probably wouldn't even trade for him if they had an option to, right? I mean, and again, that a lot of it has to do with Zion, but you never know. Talking about taking a chance on these 19-year-old kids and all that stuff, anything could happen. But, again, if you're the Spurs, you take them unless a team is willing to sell the farm. Again, you get a team, right, like the Wizards. If they offer the 6th pick, Sar, Bilal, and, 2 more future firsts, because they just believe he's going to be a star, that's their guy, that's the guy they want to build around, it'd be kind of hard to say no to that, right? Because you solve both forward positions with 2 guys who, again, one guy has star potential in Sar. Got another guy who has all the tools to be a legit 3-and-D guy and was excellent defensively already, right? And then you got the 6th pick plus future first. Again, maybe the Spurs wouldn't do that, but that's a lot for an unproven number 2 pick, even if you think he's going to be a superstar. I mean, you're talking about he would have to be, SGA at this point, right? Which, again, maybe he could be, but there's also a potential that he's a Harden. Right, so again, it's something to kind of keep in mind. Not that Harden was bad. In his prime, every team in the league would love to have Harden. But again, he never really became what people expected him to do or achieve what people expected him to do. Again, there's a lot, right? Like the NBA is a wild organization, and there's a lot of guys that have success. Also, where you get drafted to, the type of role you get, all of that stuff, right? He's coming in to a Spurs team where he's not going to get the opportunities year one, right? He's probably going to be coming off the bench year one, right? Where if he was to go to a team like the Wizards, he might be able to play 35 minutes a night and be the guy, right? But on the Spurs, he's not going to be the guy. At best, he's going to be the 2 guy behind Wemby, right? And then also, De'Aaron Fox is going to be, the guy momentarily. And then you got Castle, who's going to have another year, right? Like, Dylan Harper's coming in, and at best, will be the 3rd option, right? Behind Wemby and De'Aaron Fox. Right? Where if he went to another team, he'd be cheaper. So again, there's a lot of things that kind of go into it. So if you can get some crazy offer, or you get a team like OKC that's like, hey, we'll give you our 15 firsts and the picks in this year's draft, and Chet Holmgren, right? Like, be kind of hard to say no. Like, you get Chet and a bunch of firsts. Again, I don't think teams do it. I mean, the report itself said that they want more than he sees any team being willing to give up. But teams make crazy offers all the time. I think what will happen tomorrow is they're going to go in, they're going to draft Dylan Harper with the number 2 pick, which you do regard. Look, it's not like because the Spurs draft Dylan Harper, he's going to have no value. Now, if anything, he might have more value because he'll actually have a contract attached to him. So he actually has salary you can send out rather than just the pick itself, right? So you might actually be able to get an extra player or 2 that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise just by including his salary in a trade later on down the road, right? So all of these things I think are important. And again, teams that believe that he's the guy, they're going to believe he's the guy regardless. And again, if he's like the 3rd option on the Spurs, teams might look at it and go, well, hey man, maybe we do pony up, especially if he start to show the signs and the flashes, right? It's very possible a team at the trade deadline might go, man, like he's like the 3rd, 4th option on the Spurs and is already, doing what he's already a 12-5-5 guy. Imagine if he was the guy for us, and imagine what his growth over the years would be. Sell the farm, go get him, right? Type thing. You never know how and what teams perceive and see. And also there could be a point, like what if he's not what the Spurs thought he was going to be? Maybe the Spurs look to trade him then, which you might not get as much, but you still might, because you might get a team that's like, hey, he's not, right? Like, so again, even if the Spurs do the right thing, stay the course, be patient, draft the guy that you believe in, draft the guy that you think is the guy and has the potential to be, a top player in this league alongside Wemby. You do all that, and you can always course correct later. Now, you can always trade De'Aaron Fox later if you need to. There's plenty of teams that would love to take a De'Aaron Fox if they can get him. And he didn't really give up anything for him. So, I mean, even if you kind of just sold him cheap, right? Like, you'd probably still get as much, if not more, than what you gave up for him. So even that, I don't think would be a big deal. But my big question is the 14th. Like, what do they do with the 14th pick? That's where I think the real question lies. What do the Spurs look to do with? Do they end up trading the 14th pick, or do they end up keeping him because you ended up not getting Kevin Durant? The only way I see them trading the number 2 pick is if Giannis becomes available. Which, by the way, Giannis is expected to become available later on down the road. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. So maybe Dylan Harper, which again might be good because he'd have a contract, so it'd make it easier to kind of get to Giannis's contract. But if he has a contract, well then it might make it easier to go and trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo. But outside of like a Giannis or something crazy ends up becoming available, or a lot like Jokic becomes available or something, I don't see them trading the number 2 pick. I would be pretty surprised if they traded the number 2 pick, but I would imagine if they did trade the number 2 pick, it is for the farm, right? It is for something just, too good to be true. Because again, I mean, Washington supposedly was willing to offer a pretty crazy package, right? So what is that? Is it like Sarr in the 6th pick? Because, I mean, yeah, in many circumstances, that is a pretty crazy pack, right? That is a pretty wild package. But if it's something where it's like, again, if it's the 6th pick, Sarr, that's kind of hard to say no to, right? And especially if you can get more assets. I don't know. Like, that's probably the closest I could see them maybe being willing to do that. But we'll see. Time will tell. Anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So we enjoy these types of videos. Truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.